So I don't really know how to fully respond to what has been happening increasingly here in the United States with law enforcement and the African American community. It's not only sad, but it's sickening. This morning I awoke with V Bozeman's Rise Up on my heart, and I believe this is what we need to do. But the question is how? Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had two very opposing views on race relations and the black community's response to social injustice. And I believe they both had it right. The Bible talks about the kingdom of God suffering violence and the violent taking it by force. There are times when a militant response is necessary, but then there are times when you peacefully make a stand. I believe we need a happy medium, but what that happy medium looks like is very questionable at this point. If we do not respond, though, I believe a tide of anger, hate, and retribution will continue to sweep across this land until it is filled with blood, with the blood of the innocent and the guilty. The screams of bystanders and loved ones will fill the air. And my question is this what we want for ourselves? Is this even what we want for future generations? What we need is real change, but more importantly, we need a strategy. We need people from all walks of life to come together to come up with a real plan that is actionable. What good is it for only one group of people to come together when an opposing race is mobilizing against them? We need blacks, whites, Hispanics, Asians, Native Americans, and anybody else to come together. Because if you think this is only going to affect the black community, you are sorely, sorely mistaken. It is only a matter of time before the blood spews over into every community. We as a nation can no longer bury our heads in the sand about race relations. Too many people are asleep, and perhaps that's a good thing. I don't know if those who are asleep will contribute to the delinquency of the problem when they awake, or if they will contribute to the solution. Given the unknown, I would much rather they remain asleep. This way we can deal with what we know. People who are asleep for a reason, and that's because they don't want to deal with it. Denial is much more comfortable, and that is their right. But we cannot ignore the fact that the very foundation of America was built upon social inequality. We cannot just get over or ignore 400 years of slavery. That's like telling a rape victim to just get over it. That just simply is not possible. We especially cannot get over it when the mentality of social inequality that drove slavery is still very, very ever present. So how do we uproot that foundation and rebuild? People talk a lot about the Black Panther Party. They have a lot of negative things to say about it, but I think the intent behind what they wanted to do was there. I think the heart was there. Huey P. Newton, he was a social activist. He had a PhD in social philosophy from USC. He and Bobby Seale both co-founded the Black Panther Party, and they had a 10-point program that called for better housing, jobs, and education for African Americans. That same plan also called for an end to economic exploitation of black communities, along with military exemption. And although militant, they were effective in leading change in their communities. Like it or not, they made a difference. I mean, there are pictures of him and Bobby Seale, and I can't think of the third guy that's in the picture, but going through looking at bags of food that were laid out that they were going to give out to the community to help as a food subsidy program to help, kind of help make sure that there was nutritious food. So they were looking in the bags and making sure that the quality of food that they were giving out was good food, because what's the point of subsidizing food to people and it's still killing them? So, if they were really militant and passionate about their initiatives and what they wanted to do. And one of the things was, how can you hate us but then want us to kind of fight and protect a country that doesn't necessarily protect us or see us as equals. So I think a lot of what they wanted to do is misunderstood, or was misunderstood and still is misunderstood, but they had a plan and it made sense and it worked. Maybe the execution was a little bit strong, but we weren't living in that climate, so it's easy for us to kind of judge or whatever. But the economic buying power of African Americans is huge. It's no secret. I mean, people have known it for a long time. It's been exploited for so long, and we just don't have a revelation of that. I don't believe we do. Look at what Black people did in Greenwood, Oklahoma. It was one of the most affluent communities in the Tulsa suburb. It was the home of the Black commercial district. It affectionately ended up being called Black Wall Street. Some 10,000 Black people migrated to that area, during, slavery, and when it was abolished, and just people kind of scattered. That's kind of where a lot of the people went. But basically they mobilized and established businesses that thrived. I mean, these people own grocery stores, banks, libraries, all kinds of enterprises. And part of their success was because Blacks were prevented from shopping anywhere else. It was basically that was your only recourse. You can shop where white people shop. But an interesting point to note is white people shopped in Greenwood. They shopped there a lot. And so while we didn't have the opportunity or ability to shop outside of Greenwood, they did, and they came, and I believe that became a threat for some in the white community, not just those who, because if the people who shopped there had a problem with it, I don't think they would have kept shopping there. So, but yeah, when you don't have a recourse, you do what you have to do, and that's what they did. And I think that's where we need to get to, shifting our minds about what our recourse is, because back then segregation was a problem. It was still a big problem. I mean, think about it. Doctors, lawyers, realtors, all kinds of professionals unable to shop freely, as if the value of money is somehow different when it exchanges hands from one race to another, because it's not. Money is money. $10 to a Black person is $10 to a white person. It's all in how we spend it. But if I give you $10, that same $10 is going to go to another person, and the value of that $10 is not going to change because it went from one hand to the next. It's still $10. So I don't, I think that that it's very sad what happened in Greenwood. It was very successful, and that success became a threat. So as a result, the most devastating massacre involving race in the United States history took place, and that city was burned to the ground in a matter of just seconds, probably almost seconds, but maybe minutes. Back in 1921. I know that there is a movement today called Black Wall Street, trying to reinstitute the whole concept of supporting Black-owned businesses, and I think they even have an app now for it. But I say all this and I share all this because I believe African Americans in particular need to understand the power their economic buying power has. And I'm not sure if this is the answer, but it may be a start that crippling the economy of others may be a way to get their attention, so an open dialogue can happen. Maybe I'm naive and I don't know. I'm just throwing out some ideas of how we can get to a happy medium, some type of answer to fixing the race relation problem we have in the country, rather than burying our heads in the sand about it. So I don't know what the answer is, but I do know we need a response. I feel like that fictional character Samuel L. Jackson played, called, I think his name was Nick Fury. We need a response team. And for me, that response team is multicultural. It may not be, you may not agree, and that's your right to not agree, but for me, that response team needs to be multicultural. It's diverse. Like I said earlier, we need to have a conversation about race relations and social inequality in America. I don't understand how America can be great again when it has never really dealt with its most pressing issue, and that's race. We all need to do better, and in the words of Jesse Williams, we will do better. How? I don't know personally what my response will be, but I do know that I will respond. And I'm calling upon the leadership community, my colleagues, people I have yet to meet, but I plan to meet, and people of influence to respond as well. Like V Bozeman said, we will rise up. We must rise up. We've got to rise up like a flame. We've got to rise up like a bird out of a cage. We have to rise up and do something, because it's beyond unacceptable. And if we are going to be great, we have to be great together. It's just, at the end of the day, the only people who are native to this land are Native Americans. And so I think we all need to come together, rise up, work together, and come to some serious decisions and solutions on how we can be better. I know there's a petition going on right now for the government to create an agency that polices the police, basically. So then my question is, I don't remember the name of the movie, but it was Will Smith and Regina King. And at the end of the movie, she asked a very powerful question. And this is the question that I ask about that is, well, who's going to monitor the monitors of the monitors? And if the same people who are monitoring the monitors are the people who are behind what's going on, we're just paying people to contribute to the delinquency rather than the solution. I'm not knocking the idea, I'm not knocking the concept, but we just have to be careful about who we put into those positions. What's at their heart? Why are they doing what they do? Do they really believe in social justice? Or are they just kind of getting a position of power to enact more hatred, more fear, more of the social injustice that we have been seeing and increasingly seeing here in the U.S. So I don't know, but I'm hoping that at some point we can come to some type of response. I don't know, but like everybody else, my heart aches and something has to be done.